Welcome to another stay at the Hotel Ford. In this episode, we're getting back to work on the old lady's Vic. We really got to get a bumper cover one day. But right now we're under the hood, and we are going to be lifting up on the motor, doing some motor mounts, oil pan gasket, oil change, a couple other little gasket doodads, what have you. You know what I mean? The type of stuff that you do when you're lifting the engine in the air to do the mounts. Because you need to, if you're lifting the motor up, you need to make the most use of your time. You know, as I've been standing here, it does look like the passenger side of the motor is sitting lower than the driver's side. So that's good. That's good because the entire reason that I'm doing... You just interrupted me. That's good because the entire reason that we're taking the time to lift the engine up in the first place is for the motor mounts. That's the oil pan gasket leaks a little bit, but I mean, you know, whose doesn't? But the primary reason is those motor mounts, because this side of the motor's sitting a little low. And if you get down here, see, that's the oil pan. You notice that little dent he do? That is from where the drag link here in the center gets all wide to accept the inner tie rod in. Yeah, see, she leaks oil a little bit. Not too, just a little bit. Yep, but anyway, because the engine is sitting lower than it's supposed to, when we turn the car near full lock left, this guy runs into that guy. And over time, that's going to make a hole in the oil pan, and then we're going to have a bad time. So that's the reason why we're getting in here. Trying to avoid having a bad time. So yeah, that's the main motivation behind what we got going on. And the plus of it is the engine is like really... She can really shake around when you get on and out of the load and whatnot. And when you put it into gear, the car like does a chunk. And what that is this side of the motor going up and then back down. Anywho, let's get torn into it. The first thing I'm going to do is pull this fan shroud out of the way so I can get my peepers into what's going on. And then we're going to jack up your car, get her all supported on some stands, and I was going to be cool and use an engine brace, but I didn't pay attention. Luckily I have my dad's cherry picker engine hoist over there. If I wasn't paying attention, I was going to use the engine brace. However, I was thinking the Vic was something like these front-wheel drive cars. See, she's got a lot of structure and metal over here to set the engine brace on. You know, just like that one, that's also an engine brace. And if you'll check her situation here, I didn't pay attention to the fact that it's just two pieces of sheet metal all pinched together. And that probably will support the weight of the motor, but it's going to bend it all up and make it ugly, and our fenders are straight right now, so we're going to get the cherry picker underneath there and then just, you know, have to deal with laying in the legs and whatnot while we're working underneath, but it'll be worth it so we don't mess up our fenders. Alright. Now that we got it all lifted up in the air and a fan shroud removed, the next thing we'll do is get down there, get the oil draining out, and then we'll come back up here and start looking at things that are gonna keep us from lifting very easily. Like, I believe we're gonna go ahead and clean up a drain pan good and capture all our coolant so we can remove that upper hose. We're gonna take this intake off. I don't believe there's a whole lot though that I do have to remove. For the most part, it's just a few things. We're going to unhook the wires from our batteries, and yeah, it shouldn't take a whole lot for it to be free to go up a couple inches. You know, it just occurred to me that I keep seeing all these helpful little videos online and on the face spaces and all that about how to pull the drain plug out without getting any oil on your hands. Just super quick, super helpful tip. Seen one guy with a zip tie and all sorts of nonsense. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to give you guys a really, really helpful tip. Let the oil get on your hands and don't cry about it and move on. That was a little callous, but you know what I mean? It's silly. You know how it's like the old saying, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, and then there's all these fellers that are like, spend 5 minutes making sure you don't get your hands dirty. If you're that worried about it, put on a pair of gloves. You know what I mean? It's just weird, that's all. Alright. Well, ran into another one of those typical modern parts problems. See, this here is the passenger side engine mount, the part number 2806. And in this box is supposed to be, which doesn't make any sense because it wouldn't fit in this box. So I'm guessing what happened is the box got mislabeled, not the part went in the wrong box. But this guy says 2807. This engine mount is a 2707. So somebody screwed up when they, I guess when they packaged the feller, somebody screwed up when they were making their label here. And then that made the AutoZone I bought this stuff from think that this was a 2807, and then they sent it to me, and then I didn't think to look at it until we were starting to lift the motor up in the air, and anyway, we should have the correct mount coming tomorrow from O'Reilly's, because everybody else is 72 weeks out. Yeah. Anyhow, moving forward, that's cool. Now we've gone underneath and started to take our motor mount holding bolts loose. See, we got a bolt through here, and there's a little bolt here, and I believe on this other side he's very similar to this mount, but not quite, because it's got the bolt down here, but I don't think it has one up top. I think up top just hooks down and sits on the mount over there. So now we got to move some stuff and get the cherry picker into position. Alright, well, I think before I go picking the motor up in the air, being as I'm changing the gasket on that guy right there, our oil filter housing slash whatchamajigger lower radiator hose inlet point, might as well go ahead and unbolt this guy, get him out of there, so we can start cleaning that up, and that'll free us up some more space around the motor mount. So that'll be nice. Go ahead and get that out of the way before the motor's dangling up in the air. And that's what that looks like when you get it off. It's very messy. Yeah, she may have been leaking a little bit. That's what it currently looks like up in that area. So now we're gonna spend some time with the brake cleans and some wire brushes and whatnot, and try to remove on some of this bulk oil buildup. Alright, starting to clean up a little bit. Maybe I can, yeah. But before I got into it, easy. But before I got into here further cleaning it up, I wanted to show you guys this. There is a big pile of schmoo all built up right here. Looks like this little gasket seal here has been worn through. And you can see by the paint missing on the block right here, looks like she's been leaking on the coolants, which is actually a good thing for me right now, because here lately I've been noticing our temp gauge has been reading just like a little higher than normal. Normally it sits like a quarter of the way on the gauge, then it runs up to a half and then goes back to a quarter, and she's been going up to like a little bit past a half, so I've been worried. And that's pretty sweet, because this should be the cooling system issue that's just popped up on us. Looks like this thing has been slowly seeping for a very long time, but I'm willing to bet probably ever since I fixed up the cooling system and got everything flowing good, she maybe started leaking a little more. But anyhow, now I'm going to get in here with my carbide scraper and get all this stuff really flat and smooth. And then we're going to just leave this disassembled for a little while. And we'll get the motor lifted up in the air, remove on some engine mounts, and drop an oil pan before we worry about reinstalling that. Yeah, alright. And our transmission cooler lines here are going to be in the way for two reasons. One, they're right in the way of your pan bolts, and also when we go to lift the motor up, these lines are going to want to like stay down to the radiator where they're connected. And there's a bracket on the other side of this guy that clips these to the engine block, so that would pull the lines upward with it, which would be less than ideal. So we got that bracket loose over there, and we're going to go ahead and come up here and disconnect on them from the radiator, which is convenient because if you'll notice, it's leaking a little bit. So we need to unhook those and apply the pipe dope here in these two places anyway, or the pipe thread sealant, you know what I mean? So that works out. Alright, back up top here. I went ahead and removed the alternator from up top on account of there is no good places to be lifting from on the front of one of these motors. Unless maybe you wrapped a strap around the crankshaft pulley. There is just not a good place to bolt to. And they've got these guys here, which might work, but I don't think so. Because this is a big timing cover that goes across the whole front of the motor. You're not just grabbing the cylinder head. And look at the little tabby back here. That's the only threaded portion. The rest of this is just, you know, hollow. Yeah. So I feel like we could rip that off, as well as the one on the other side. So, here's what I think we're going to have. I took the alternator off. These are the bolts from a separate 4.6 engine that I have, because there's a good chance you can mess them up, and you don't want bent bolts putting your alternator back on. That could make it sit all wonky and mess with your belt alignment. Yeah, so use some sacrificial bolts if you're doing this. And, I think this is as good as it gets when it comes to what I'm trying to do here. Just lift on the front of the motor and pivot on the trans mount in the back. Yep. Alright, now we've got transmission lines all taken loose and capped off, so they'll move freely up and down with the motor. And I started to go up a little bit, and then it dawned on me. Our windshield wiper drain thing, motor housing guy, he's gonna be all up in the way in like 1/4 of an inch. So we're gonna go ahead and pull up the what is this guy, the weather seal here, and we'll pop these dudes off, pull the little thing out, take the windshield wiper arms off, and then there's a couple screws and some tabulators here and there, and we'll get those two shells off. And when we get under there, then we can get down into this mess. See, that worked out. We needed to clean the leaves out anyway, but this guy bolts up in like here, there, and 2-3 other places over there. And we need to remove the whatever it was he was. I think that's the evap herd solenoid, but we need to remove his mount or remove him off the mount, whichever. So this big old plastic windshield wiper tray assembly can come out. Alright, now we got much more room for it to lift up back there. That's nice. Hey, guess what, guys? There are 2 bolts in the other engine mount. He's just in there all sideways. Yep, we should probably pull that out. Alright. Well, we got the oil pan out. Wasn't too bad either, pulling the pan without removing on the motor. I just had to take the AC compressor loose, and there's a nut up here that holds that little canister doodad. He's a hard line back to the compressor, so I took that stuff loose so it could sit down to the side and then the engine could get up higher. I had to lift the engine up almost as high as you could go before you run into the tunnel under there, the transmission tunnel. And then after I did that, I could get the oil pan down low, and you see down there, that's the pickup tube. This here's the oil pickup tube, and this guy here, he stubs off of one of the main cap bolts, and it's an adapter to hold up right there, that tab off of this guy. You got to remove the bolt from here and the 2 from this guy, and then you got to unthread this doohickey. And then, with the engine lifted way up in the air, you can get the pan to come out the front side, and then you got to like wiggle, 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 turn and down, and then you got it out. Definitely cannot get the pan to go out the back side against the transmission bell housing. Ain't no room that way. You'd have to pull the engine all the way out of the car to go that way. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. Yeah. And that's the whole rotating assembly exposed. I've got the engine back sitting on top of the old mounts right now. And lucky for us, none of our bearings are wiggly. So that's good news. That means from here, I can come in and clean up real nice some of the edges of the block and all of that gasket mating surface, and do the same thing with the greasy oil pan over there and slap the new gasket on, and don't forget your pickup tube. And when I go back together with this, I have to get the oil pan like situated where it's back up underneath the motor, and then you got to set the pickup tube kind of down in the oil pan and get him bolted into place, and then you can up with the oil pan. 27 years of the sludge. There's still a little in there, but you know, we got most of it. Don't touch this surface with the wire brush. We're gonna hit that with the carbide scraper. And over here on the oil pan, this is the 2 marks of concern, the reason why we're putting motor mounts in it. That, and she clunks when it goes forward or reverse. This one's not so bad, it's barely took the paint off, but this one was starting to wear into her a little bit. Looks like I should have a fair amount of thickness left, so I think we're gonna be all right, as long as it's not rubbing on it anymore, with it the engine sitting up higher. Now that we got these things all washed off with the solvents and the water, we're gonna take the high pressure air and clean everything out really, really good. We don't want no water droplets in our oil passages and whatnot, or in our pan underneath all our baffling and stuff. We gotta blow under and all that fairly well, get all the little water droplets out. Couple of 3 bolts later, and we got our smoked engine mount out. Yay! Ooh, look at all the more room for activities now. Little more cleaning, and then we'll put the other motor mount on. Have I told you guys how much I hate the auto industry and new parts. Because it's a lot. It's a whole lot. See how I got the motor mount on this side? You can't tell because technology. Yeah, there it is. See how I've got the motor mount bolted in on this side? Well, look what that does on this side. Oh, it's almost like quality control. This completely, absolutely doesn't even exist in the slightest anymore. So now I gotta take this back out of here and try to somehow modify this piece of crap part. So now I get to try to take this out of here and figure out what way I need to drill out these holes so it'll bolt to the thing, and then somehow get it to attach to the motor mount there, because you know it'll never line up when I finally get it bolted to the block. Yay! Yep, there's that quality control. See the old bolt holes straight up and down, and all three of these are just drilled absolutely random at an angle wherever. Oh, and you know what else is going to be really fun that I saw? You see that? That goes around my mount inside the car and the bolt goes through it. You see that? That'll be fun. Looks like we need to try to bend this out, but I don't think it's just bent. It was just assembled that way. See how it's drilled out and riveted, all crooked, wonky, stupid? See how this one's all drilled out and riveted, all straight and square? Straight and square, crooked, wonky, stupid. Alright, now that we got the stupid cheapo motor mount mounted to the motor, moving back forward finally, we got our pickup tube cleaned up really nice. Make sure you run some brake clean through this guy, make sure your screen is all clean. And over here it had this old O-ring on it, so we're going to swap him out with a new O-ring, and we'll lube that up with some engine oil. Yeah, and then we can finally do our dance. So I got me motor way up in the air, slip the oil pan in, and then after the oil pan slipped into place, you'll get your new gasket, set him on top of the oil pan, and then we can come over to this back corner. Right here is where the little pedestal goes. We'll put him on now, tighten him down, 17mm wrench. Oh, the shakies. And now that we're that far, we can come back up here to our, wherever he went, come back up here to our pickup, and then we can slip him up in there, get his 2 bolts back here, and then the little strap at the end of them will mount to that other pedestal we just put in. Alright. Now that we got that guy all back into place, we're almost ready to push the oil pan up to the engine block. But before we do, we're going to put a little RTV right here and in the other 3 corners where the timing cover meets the block, and same thing at the back where the rear main seal cover meets the block at the back. Yeah, because these are known leak points, and you need to RTV to make sure you have a good seal here. Otherwise, the rubber seal will just run across these 2 joints, and then the oils and stuff can get in between the 2 metals and work its way out. And we don't want that. Oh boys, we're having fun on this one. Aftermarket motor mounts are so bad. See, this is my, I think I had you low enough. See, there's the mount on the motor, the mount on the frame. See how they're like right over each other, just about to slip onto it. Let me take you over to the side with our fancy new, brand new motor mount. Can you see how far away that is? Probably not, because it refuses to focus. Hey, there it is. But that's probably a good 3/4, at least like 3/4 of an inch it needs to move forward. So do you mess with the trans mount and get the drivetrain sitting all crooked so that mount fits? No, probably not. That's not a good thing to do. Let me get you down here. See that tab? There's our fancy new motor mount. See how far away he is from coming this way? So what that means is for a 15th time I need to lift the engine back up, take that mount off again, and then drill those holes out way further and turn every single hole in it into a slot, and then put it back on again and slide it back and forth until it's in the right place. And then here in a minute we're going to go to the store and collect on the other motor mount. You know, the one that AutoZone screwed up at the factory and got the part numbers all stupid and sent me the wrong one. So here in a minute we get to go to O'Reilly's and see how crappy their motor mounts are and do the same thing on that side. Yeah. Well, we just got back from the O'Reilly's with the driver's side engine mount, and as soon as I opened the box and took a look at this mount, I ordered the one for the passenger side over there, because this, I don't know if everything lines up right, we'll find out here in a minute, but this looks just like the quality of the mount that I removed from the passenger side over there. So yeah, I feel much better about these. The metal is all thick the same and whatnot, the rivets are the same size, so this definitely seems like a much better quality guy. So we're going to put him in on this side. The other mount comes in a couple of days, so we're going to keep whittling on the cheapy mount, whatever mount from AutoZone over there, until we get it to fit, and then we're going to drive on it for a few days, and then this next weekend we'll put the other good mount in on that side. Yeah. Now let's crawl back in there and pop off the driver's side engine mount. Well, hello, little baby birdies. I pulled my creeper out here to get back underway, and they were under the creeper. Excuse me, guys. And they're just sleeping. They don't even care. I need to roll around under here. Aren't they cute, though? Shut up, don't look at me. I see you. Alright. Can I get you guys to scoot? Can I get you to scoot? I gotta come under here. We gotta share the same space here, fellers. Excuse me? Hello? Nope. Guys, I need you to move. Come on now. I know you're sleepy. I know you're sleepy. Come on now. There you go. Keep a little further. There you go. Good job. Good job. Thank you. You need to go a little more. Little more. Little more. All right. Right. Now we got the driver's side over here, all cleaned up under the old mount, got the new mount in. Oh, that was a lot faster than this side over here that we'll be revisiting here in a few days. Anyhow, the mount here from the O'Reilly's bolted up the first try. Now we're going to climb out and see how she lines up going down and wherever, because I've got the transmission mount loose back there, so we can slide the whole drivetrain forward and back a little bit. So wherever it sits good on this side, slid back and forth, I'm going to bolt down the transmission and then Lift the motor up again and continue whittling on the AutoZone mount over there to make it match the other side. All right. The better quality looking mount made it the first stab, first try. And after a bunch of whittling and taking it off 1572 8 times, oh, it's under there. See him back there? Yeah, it is looking like we finally have that mount lined up. Of course, we haven't been underneath. I don't know how the hole on the bottom's looking, but here's hoping when we slide under to put those bolts in, they go in. Oh, boys. If I can get you up there. Oh, boys. The bolt, it didn't line up at first, but after a while, I made it line up. Whew. And of course, the two on this side just went right in. Easy bees. Whoever made the motor mounts for O'Reilly's for this particular car over here did a much better job than whoever made the motor mounts for AutoZone for this particular car. I'm sure it's different with everything. But anyhow, now that we've finally acquired and installed our driver's side motor mount, we can move forward with installing our oil, quiet down now, our oil filter housing slash radiator hose connector spot guy with its new gasket. Whew! And then we can slap the starter back in, and then we can put the AC compressor back on, and then, whoo, fellers, roll the cherry picker out. It's time to go. Whoo, fellers. It is slowly but surely coming back together. Just a few more things away. Then we can fill up the oil and the coolant again. Whew. Look at her now. Motor sitting up all flat and levels. Alright. It is about time to jack down your car. Get it back on the floor and finish the oil change we started with. Heh. And bleed the cooling system out and run it for a bit and check for some leaks, and then park it in the driveway and go to bed. Ooh. It's about that time. Went a little late on that one with all the motor mount issues, but you know, better late than never. But now we're about finished up for the night. All we gotta do, let her run for a little bit, purge out the cooling system, check for the leakies. But anyway, appreciate you guys for hanging out with us at the Hotel Ford all this time. I don't know if y'all can tell, but the motor is sitting up much higher than it used to. It would appear those motor mounts have been sagging down for quite some time. One of the coolest things that I've noticed about the new motor mounts is the car used to make a lot of noise when you'd go from park to reverse or drive. The whole car would like shudder downward and there'd be a little clunk up front. And now Now when you put it in gear, it just goes. So that's sweet. Old lady says she rides much better on the highway now. I'm kind of thinking the engine was bouncing around a lot before, because she said all the speed bumps are much smoother than they were before. We've already went around and done shocks and stuff and suspension work all over the car, but it always handled like weird every time we'd hit bumpy patches on the road, and it's much smoother now. So what was happening before is we'd hit a bumpy patch and our shocks would dampen the load on the car body and the frame, but the engine is supported by those two mounts in the front and the one on the transmission, and the whole thing would just with the bumpies, which made the whole car like shake around because the weight of that drivetrain really throws the body of the car around. So yeah, new motor mounts, got the oil pan up off of our steering linkages so we're not rubbing on it anymore, and she rides like new. Anyway, thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. You have a good one.